Once you have downloaded mTrip via mInstaller, it can be located in your effects, as well as your transitions and your titles. If you skim over any of these, it will give you a real-time preview in your canvas as to what it's going to look like. Here in our titles, we can see we have different camera movements, overlay effects, typography, and then you'll notice typography 360, and we will go over the differences here in just a bit later in the tutorial. So our first clip here, you can see that we have this amazing shot by the Insta360 camera, and that is just pouring some coffee there in the snowy mountains. And let's say I really want to do a cool animation or push to really focus on that coffee. So let's use our camera movements. I'm going to just click zoom, and I'm going to bring that title in on top of my footage, and I would like to only zoom in for a bit and then zoom back out. So you can see here, there is a zoom. I'm going to highlight my title and then use my on-screen control, and let's find that coffee. So we're going to set that on-screen control so that we can see that coffee cup. Over in our inspector, really simple basic controls. I'm not going to scale in so much on my coffee, just a little bit to really get the focus there. And let's see how that looks. So just a bit of a zoom, pours the coffee and pours back out. There we go, really cool. And then we're into our next shot here. So here, why don't we look at some of our overlay effects. We have a lot. Again, you can just kind of scrub over really quickly and it will give you the different looks that that's going to be creating. In this one, I would like to use my camera viewfinder. So we're just going to drag this in and retime on top of that clip here. Here in the inspector, you can see that we have animations in and out, and then we have animation in and out blur, and then we have our record group. So you can see top left, and all of the different text that goes along with that. We can change the color of our record button if we would like. And then we have all of the different texts beneath that you can change as well. And then you can see here that we have time code, and this is taking into account the time code of our actual video. So if you see the time code of our video and the time code in the viewfinder, they are synced, which is really, really cool. But if you wanted to change that, you can go to time code offset, and you can offset that code if you would like, or you can change this to your frames if you would like as well. So the cool thing about overlay effects is you can stack these. So the next thing I want to do is, let's say that I wanted some light leaks in this video. It looks beautiful, but some light leaks would really look cool. So we're going to drag our light leaks in now, and let's go ahead and retime. And then you can see really subtle, really cool light leaks over there on that right side. Now notice the light leaks are affecting the camera viewfinder beneath. We want to change the order to viewfinder on top, and now you can see that our light leaks are happening beneath that viewfinder layer. And then the last thing I want to do is add a frame on this. So why don't we find our frame, and again, we're going to make sure that that is on top so that it's affecting everything. And now we have this really cool, we have this shot, and then it all animates in beautifully. We have the kind of lens blurs happening within the viewfinder. We have the light leaks. We have an awesome frame. And you just made that shot so much more interesting. And again, it was already really interesting, but this just adds another layer of dynamics to that shot. Let's continue down. Remember, there are so many overlay effects. We could spend an entire tutorial in our overlay effects. So keep that in mind as we move past this. Why don't we go ahead and check out our typography here. So this is going to be our regular, just 2D typography. Again, if you scroll over, you can see some of those beautiful animations with each of these that are happening in your canvas. Now with this one, because we're traveling over a distance here, I would like to use my distance. So I'm just going to drag that in, and then you can see that animates in really cool over our awesome sort of time lapse there going on. We have on-screen controls here for position, scale, and rotation. So if you wanted to maybe kind of rotate that so that it's following the line there of the road. Over in our inspector, we have all of the basics, and then we can change our text down here as well. And you can toggle your line on and off. You can make changes to your width, etc. And you can add a shadow if you would like. So why don't we go back up and look at a few more overlays, because there are so many and they look really great. One of the other things I wanted to show you is that there are different looks built in. So you can see here, this is the adventure look. So we also have discovery look, we have expedition look, and all of these are going to have some LUTs and such built in, and then we have just LUT presets. So why don't I just go ahead and drag in the Trek look, and this is sort of a teal and orange, which is really, really popular with travel videos, especially if you're down at the beach and it's very pretty. So you can see here that we already have this sort of teal and orange going on. As I enable and disable this, you can see the difference. Then we have over in our inspector, we have the LUT loader that you can load these different LUTs in if you would like. We have the LUT mix, so if you wanted to dial that down, you can do so here. And then we have all of our different levels, contrast, and sharpens and grains, so that you can really fine-tune this look if you so desire. Continuing down, we also have this really unique mirroring, and then we also have a tiny planet look that you can do some pretty crazy and wild stuff. If you are shooting in 360, you already know that you can set a tiny planet look, but let's say that you've got some 2D footage and you want a tiny planet look, you can use this tiny planet filter here, and it's going to do this cool animation. And then you have that tiny planet look, and then it can animate right back out. But with that said, on your tiny planet over in your inspector, you have your different mirroring options for right, left, or off. We definitely suggest that you use either left or right, depending on the look you want. Then we also have the X rotation, your Y rotation, your Z rotation, and we have field of view, just like any other tiny planet. But essentially all we're doing is we are just mirroring this footage here. So you can see we already have our transitions over here. So if we wanted to really quickly, you can just scrub over and you can see the different transitions that you're getting. This one's really cool because it has that very bulgy look. So we could click this and grab it and drag it in between our footage there, and then you can see that bulge, and then we're going to come out and boom, now we're in our sort of tiny planet look. So over in our inspector, we have animation zoom, we have prism, and blur. And again, there are several really cool. There's a awesome transition, drop zone light leak. You can populate a drop zone. We have a great film burn there. Flash zooms. We have a Luma, which we know is really popular. We have photos that you can populate with different drop zones of your trip that you may have been on. Rotations, a roll, rotation zoom, slide, and a zoom. So again, it is chock full of transitions. All right, so let's open up our effects here. And let's move our timeline down. You can see that I have 3 different videos stacked on top of each other. That is because we have multiple split screen effects. If you have a clip highlighted and then you highlight over your effects, you can see what each of these are going to do for you. Some really cool animations, sliding that footage over, for instance, cropping in on the sides, all of this cool stuff. So I'm going to just grab split screen 2 and I'm going to drag this in on top of my image here. Then you can see we have this on-screen control and we're able to lock that in on any of these sides, just like mGrid. If you're familiar with that plugin, these are working in the same way. Over in our inspector, we have animations in and out. Then we have a split screen mode for vertical or horizontal. I think vertical looks really cool here. I'm going to do the same thing, split screen on my other clip, and then I'm going to drag this to the left, and now you can see that we have all of these different clips working together, animating together beautifully, and then right back out. So really cool, a great way to show a lot of your footage really quickly of your trip if you would like. Okay, so it is possible that you are working with 360 video. Again, this video is in collaboration with Insta360 and we got all of these awesome shots from them. So I wanted to show you the differences in the typography. As you can see here, we have our regular typography and then we also have our 360 typography. Now all of these are exactly the same. So you can see that we have calendar here, but that is the 360 version. And then we have calendar here, and that is the 2D regular version. So let me show you the differences in those. So here we are in just a regular 25p 4K timeline. We have some 360 footage loaded. We can go over to our orientation, and we can just change the mapping quickly to Tiny Planet. And then we can use our different orientations to get the orientation of the footage that we want. So if you've never played with 360 footage, it is really cool. It's a lot of fun. So this is how you do things. You can animate keyframes, stuff like that. And then why don't we grab title number 2. So we're just going to click that in, bring it onto our footage here. And you can see that we have on-screen controls for position, scale, and rotation. So let's say that I just wanted this to happen on top of my 360 footage in a regular timeline there. So there we go, really simple. Over in our inspector, we have all of the basics that you expect from the titles in MotionVFX in our 2D title here. Now, why don't we take this same footage and look at this in a 360 timeline and see the cool things that we can do with it. Okay, so here we are in a 360 timeline, and you can see that we do not have to set our orientation to Tiny Planet because it is already oriented and ready to edit in 360. We're going to go ahead and go open our 360 viewer, and now you can see that this is what it's going to look like if we were to export this out. This is the field of view that you're going to have if you're watching this on some VR headset of some sort, on YouTube or something like that in 360. So I'm going to set my title here, the same title. This is my regular 2D title on, and I want you to see how this looks on our footage. So you can see here that we're getting some crazy distortion happening. And then if we move this over, you can see that that's distorting as well. I'm going to go back into my clip here, and I want you to notice that our stitching is all messed up now. That is because this regular title is not formatted for 360. So you do not want to use these regular titles on your 360 footage if you are in a 360 timeline. I'm going to delete that, and I want you to watch what happens with this stitch line here. It goes away, and now your footage is back to normal, and it is 360, and there's no line or anything like that. Okay, we want to use that same title, title number 2, but in the Typography 360 version. So now we're just going to drag that, bring it in, and you can see that we have our title here, and you can see that it is reacting and responding a lot differently than the other footage. We still have our on-screen control, but you can see here that that is not doing what our other footage was doing. So let's go ahead and bring that over, and then boom, check that out, how that looks over in our viewer. Really, really cool. Now, if you're wanting to position your title in any way, it's actually best, because you are in 360, to position your source footage where you want it and leave the title just really in the dead center. So we're going to use our orientation here, and we want our title, you can see over on the left side, to kind of be sitting down there in the bottom. So we want it to just kind of come in. There it is. It's down there. And then it goes back out. So now if you are looking at this on any kind of viewer headset or something, when you're looking down, that's where your title is going to be. We positioned the footage itself where we wanted it, as opposed to positioning the title where we wanted it. So let me show you one more really cool thing. I'm going to export this clip out. So we're just going to go ahead and go to File, Share, Export File, and we are going to export this video, and we're going to export this in 360. So that means projection type equirectangular. That's what you're going to want. And we can do H.264. Let's export this out, and then we're going to open this clip again over in our regular 16:9 timeline. So here is our footage that we have imported. So now I'm going to drag this in. It is the same, essentially the same clip as this other over here, but this is with our text embedded. Close out our 360 viewer, and then here we go. You can see that we need to change our mapping again to Tiny Planet, and then we can change all of our orientation and such if we want. But now that title is embedded into our footage, and we can do some really cool animations and stuff like that if you want. And there you have it. Thank you so much for checking out this tutorial on mTrip in collaboration with Insta360. Be sure to subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.